How can Lincoln be called pro-democracy when he basically nullified the votes of citizens in the states that voted to leave?
While Lincoln certainly took steps that limited the ability of Southern states to secede and maintain their own government, it's worth noting that the Confederacy did not leave the Union through a legitimate democratic process. The decision to secede was made by a relatively small number of political leaders, rather than through a broad referendum or other democratic process. Additionally, Lincoln and other Union leaders believed that the secession of Southern states threatened the democratic institutions of the United States and the principles of the Constitution. In their view, allowing states to secede and maintain their own government would have threatened the democratic principles and values that underpin the Union itself. Therefore, while Lincoln's actions during the Civil War may have limited the democratic rights of some citizens, they were motivated by a desire to protect and preserve democratic institutions and values in the United States.
Had the South been allowed to secede, Lincoln would still be president, and the South did not want to conquer the North.
Difficult to say for sure what would have happened if the South had been allowed to secede. However, it's worth noting that the Confederacy was formed explicitly in order to preserve the institution of slavery, which was a major source of economic and political power for the South. If the Confederacy had been successful in seceding, it's likely that slavery would have continued to be legal in the new country, which would have had profound consequences for the region and the rest of the world. As for Lincoln remaining president, that is also unclear. If the South had seceded, it's possible that there would have been a different president in power, especially if the crisis had turned violent or led to a protracted conflict. Additionally, the political landscape of the North and the South would likely have been very different, which could have impacted the election results. It's also worth noting that the Confederacy did in fact attempt to invade and conquer the North during the Civil War, most notably during the Maryland Campaign and the Gettysburg Campaign. While they were ultimately unsuccessful, it's clear that the Confederacy had territorial ambitions beyond simply seceding from the United States.